Nick Caserio, lots to be excited about. You win the South, you draft both rookies of the year. Fans are mostly excited about the vests that are available in the team store. Are you aware of this?
I actually just noticed that here today. So hopefully the fans get the one that they like. So first off, thanks for having us. Appreciate it. Congrats to you and all your success. So good to be here.
I appreciate you. We're not stopping to talk about vests just because you're being polite and have manners. You know that there are people out here who put and embroidered your face onto a vest, and we're selling.
I have not seen that, Kay. That's a first.
This
So
is,
it's probably worth about 1 penny. So it's probably worth less. So
I mean, what's it like to be a fashion icon?
I'm not sure if I'm really a fashion icon when it comes to anything. So it really the choice of dress is just a comfort factor more than anything. So I guess it's my spring kind of New England-y-ish
Okay.
vibe. So when it's 95 degrees and sunny and humid down here, those won't come out for a while. So, but if the fans want to wear them, then great.
You're a fashion icon. You're not comfortable with it, which is my favorite. You do know how to build a damn roster, don't you? Unbelievable. Big news this week. Let's start there. Nico Collins gets signed to a nice extension. He's earning a lot, more per year than DK and Debo. I like how it's structured. What gave you the confidence to dish out that payday?
Yeah, I mean, Nico is really has been a good player for us here for a number of years. I would say when you kind of look at the arc of his career, where he started, going back to when we drafted him in 21, he didn't play football in 20, so because of COVID and everything else associated with it, and then was a participant in the Senior Bowl and had some traits and attributes that we liked. So we were kind of drafting probably a little bit potential at that point, but he was productive with his opportunities in Michigan, and then he produced a little bit as a rookie. Kind of ran into some bumps in the road. I think the big thing last season was just his confidence and belief in himself, his ability to kind of stay on the field. The offensive staff did a great job with him. Was able to develop a rapport and relationship with CJ. Coach Slowick and the offensive staff. I'd say specifically Ben McDaniels, who's been coaching him here for multiple years now. So they've all worked and invested in the relationship, invested in the player. And Nico's a great kid, salt of the earth, everything that we want our program and players to be about. So to be able to reward him with an extension that he's earned, nobody's granted anything just because. So he's earned the opportunity, and he's a young player who we feel his best football is ahead of him. So to be able to keep him here for hopefully multiple years, and it's something that we felt was important, and to be able to reward players for their work and their effort, who are emblematic of the things that we want players to represent. I think it's always it's always good to be able to do those types of things.
And his numbers are great, and he's really performing. He missed 2 games, still had over 1,300 total yards, 8 touchdowns. Can't wait to see what he does this year playing alongside the big addition, Stephon Diggs.
We were on the field here this morning. We've been on the field here the last couple of days. Steph has been here this week. So Steph's had a great attitude, works really hard. He's very competitive. He finishes plays. What you see him do during the regular season, what you've seen him do for Buffalo and Minnesota, you're seeing some of those qualities and traits on a practice field. So there's a reason why he's been as productive and as successful as he's been. So philosophically, what D'Amico and I have just tried to do is just build as competitive and as deep a roster as possible. And we understand that there's going to be challenges that we face during the course of the season. This league is so competitive. I mean, I think we played in 10 one-score games last year. We were 7-3, so we were fortunate to come out on the positive end of the spectrum. But our job is to try to build as good a team as we possibly can, give ourselves an opportunity to compete against a lot of good teams, a lot of good coaches. And we feel Steph will be a good addition to the room. I think that room is going to be really, really competitive. We're probably going to have to either move on for some players who are going to be playing other places, but we'll try to keep as many good players as we can here. But Steph's been here. He's had a good attitude. He's had a good approach. So we're glad he's here.
I mean, Tank Dell is no joke. They're going to push for the best wide receiver trio in the NFL this season. And you must have a soft spot in your heart for receivers, don't you? Because let's go back to New England a little bit. Let's go back to like the mid 2000s. You are shooting up the ranks in New England. Then for 1 year, which you have to explain to me, 2007, you leave the front office and you become the wide receivers coach for Randy Moss, Wes Welker, and that 16-0 team. How did that happen?
I would say very fortunate to be in the situation I was in. Sometimes, luck and opportunity, combine and collide. And, I just try to work hard and do whatever is asked of me. So we had some transition that was taking place just from a staff standpoint. So there was an opportunity that presented itself, really kind of work with the offensive staff going all the way back to 2001. Even as my role and title had changed, it was still kind of immersed in what we were doing offensively. So we felt that that was a transition that, would be advantageous and helpful. And when coach presented the opportunity, it was something that I wanted to coach. I was always, when I got into football, I thought I was going to coach. Honestly, I didn't even know what a front office entailed. When I started New England, kind of on a personnel side, it was something wasn't even familiar with. So, but just try to show up, work hard, have a good attitude, and help the players. And that off season, it's funny because from '06 we played in the AFC Championship game. Won a game out there in San Diego. Caldwell makes a play on the sidelines. We had Rashay and Jabbar. And then we lost the AFC Championship game there to Indianapolis. And then off season, we kind of revamped some things. So traded for Wes. That kind of happened early on in kind of free agency, or right around free agency. Scott and Bill made that acquisition. Wes was a guy who was a pain in the ass to cover in Miami. So I mean, when you see a guy twice a year, so traded for Wes. Signed Dante Stallworth in free agency, added Kelly Washington. Troy was still there. And then the trade for Randy took place right around the draft. So I mean, we felt we were going to have a pretty competitive receiver room. They all kind of complemented each other. So then when we got Randy, and I've talked about this here with some folks locally, I mean, literally we were in the staff room just kind of on a whiteboard drawing up routes that we thought were conducive to Randy's skill set. So I think Randy and Wes kind of complemented one another. Dante had a good role. And then we re-signed, or Jabbar Gaffney was still a part of it, and Jabbar had a really good role because he was so versatile. So we kind of reshaped some things offensively that year, and we became a little bit more of an 11 personnel team. Went to training camp. Randy was literally out there for one day, and then
Nick,
he
you're
kind of.
saying it like you're using words like revamped, you got Wes Welker and Randy Moss. You're in charge you get one shot at it for 1 year, the 1 year on your resume, and you're in charge of one of the greatest wide receiver rooms of all time.
Well, they did more to help me than I probably did to help them. So my job was just to kind of make sure they were prepared, make sure they had an understanding of what we're trying to accomplish on each play, and honestly just kind of stay out of the way, but hold them accountable. I mean, I think as a coach, you just want to teach and you want to provide them information that they can utilize to be productive on the field. So that I kind of took that angle and approach, and they probably all took different bits and pieces of it with them. And we went out there, and we were fortunate to have some success offensively that year. Kind of came up short a little bit at the end, but I learned a lot. Learned a lot about myself. Learned a lot about just coaching different types of people and players. So it was kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity, and certainly grateful and thankful for that chance. And then after that season, again, we kind of had a little bit of movement, front office, coaching wise. So then kind of transitioned back to the other side there a little bit. Was still always was involved a little bit with the staff because of the relationship that we had cultivated through the years. So they're always grateful for my time in New England. Learned a lot on a lot of different levels, coaching, front office, and just some of the things that were important on the team building standpoint, and some that we've tried to implement here in Houston. But there's never a one size fits all model. You just try to take each situation, and each year is its own entity. So kind of when we transitioned from '06 to '07, that was a whole new team, new year. I would say when you look at our team here this season, kind of transitioning from 23 to 24, we're going to be a different team. There's some carryover relative to the players that are coming back, but each year, I mean, the spring is really an opportunity to establish your level of performance and kind of put a foundation in place. And that's what we're really working to do here this spring with everybody that's here.
CJ had such an incredible year. It's hard to, what more can we expect from him? So when you say it'll be different in terms of him, such a special quarterback. I mean, you were around the greatest quarterback for so much of your career. I mean, the Bledsoe had happened 2 games into your first year in New England in 2001. What is it about CJ? Maybe it's unfair to compare him to a young Tom Brady, but what reminds you of that, whether it's poise or pocket presence or what we can expect?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the really good quarterbacks just in this league, I don't speak in general terms, they're very competitive. They work, they care a lot about winning, and that drives them and motivates them to continually improve and get better, because what you did in one season, again, doesn't necessarily translate to the next season. I would say in our situation, I'm sure teams will study some of the things that we did. So we're going to kind of have to come up with some tweaks and modifications to counterbalance some of those types of things. But I would say CJ is very prideful. He cares a lot about winning. He's very competitive. Even when we go out in the field in the spring, we have a third down compete period. Like, he wants to win. And when you have that mindset, that kind of trickles down to the rest of the team. He believes in himself. He has a lot of self-belief. So I think those are some of the qualities. Forget about the physical attributes and skills. Like obviously that is a part of it. But the way you're wired, the way you think, and your just constant willingness to improve and get better, those are what makes you go from good to great. And then you want to see if you can maintain that longevity over the course of your career, understanding you're going to deal with some ups and downs. So how you handle the adversity, how you kind of handle the tough situations, that is going to really tell you a lot about that individual and that player. So we're going to probably see some things this year that we didn't see last year. We're certainly, we're going to face significant competition on a week-to-week basis, but that's this league. So you have to be prepared for that and just kind of take it 1 week at a time. But, CJ is a great person. He's a great kid, cares a lot about winning, has great relationships with really everybody on the team, whether it's players, staff, operationally, PR, and he's himself. And I think what we try to stress to everybody, just be who you are. Like, don't try to be somebody that you're not, because I think players are smart enough, they see through that. So we're excited about this upcoming season, and excited about CJ's growth, and just continue to press forward.
I love that you let them be who they are. I can't imagine, as someone who has Gronk on our show every week, he still falls into these Patriot way sort of things. And you have a rookie quarterback there who has his own podcast, who is fully himself, and is allowed to be. I think it's so beautiful that that's a part of what's going on and what makes it work so well down there. When I watch CJ, oh my God, I just like, he's never rattled, Nick. Like he's always, nothing gets to this kid.
Well, I mean, playing with poise and playing with confidence is important, because football is chaos. So in 2.5, 3 seconds, there's so many things that happen, and the quarterback specifically touches the ball in every play. So I would say just you have to be consistent with your demeanor. You have to be able to move from one play to the next. I mean, the great ones are able to do that and mitigate sort of the bad plays. And I'd say just relative to the personalities and who they are, I'd say honestly, it starts with D'Amico and who he is and the message that he permeates to the team. So everything kind of starts at the top and trickles down. But I think the one thing I've learned and been fortunate to be in this league for going on 24 years now, you have to move and evolve with the times. And it doesn't mean you can't still have your core principles and standards that you believe in, but we're just in a different age. We're just a different stage societally. Different things are important, more important to some folks. It doesn't mean that they can't pursue those things. It just means you got to make sure you keep the main thing, to quote CJ, which is something that he believes in. But ultimately, football, your performance on the football field is going to create other opportunities for you. So you can't lose focus. But we're going to support the players as best we can, hold them to a high standard, make sure they're accountable, and then just try to do the right thing along the way.
The D'Amico Ryan's hire was incredible. I mean, at the time, I feel like he was not the most sought after defensive guy. Everybody's talking offensive coaches. You inherit this rough situation in Houston. You did 3 offseason. You've turned it to the most exciting team in the league. I love it. How did you know? As I know that you were involved in the hiring process to some degree, I read. How did you know? When did you know that D'Amico was the fit?
Yeah, I mean, I said going back, when I first got here, I mean, look, I've made plenty of mistakes, and things haven't always gone the way that we would have hoped. But I mean, you try to learn as best you can on a year-to-year basis, and you got to make difficult decisions along the way, and just try to do ultimately what's best for the organization as a whole. I mean, that's part of my job, part of my responsibility. But I've talked about this publicly. D'Amico and I really didn't know each other. We knew of each other. But I mean, when you first talk to him, and I don't know if you have or haven't, but he's just such a great human being. He's a great person. He's very genuine. He's very real. He's very sincere, and he is who he is. And, just his energy, his juice on a consistent basis. And when you look at his players perform in San Francisco, I would say he had a huge hand in developing Fred and developing Dre. Aziz was a part of it. I mean, we have Aziz here now, but obviously D'Amico was involved in coaching him, and I'd sort of say developing him. But when you look at how his defenses played, how they played out there in San Francisco, they played with energy, they played fast, they played with ferocity. And I think we just needed a little bit of a jolt, and I think we were just looking for the right person. I'd say this business, football in the end, is a people business. So we could talk about scheme, we could talk about X and O's, we can spend as much time on that as we want, but you just need somebody that can kind of galvanize an entire group of people. And I think his lens, and you're seeing this throughout the league a little bit, the former player lens. I mean, I think there's something to be said for that. It doesn't mean they all have to fit that, because there's a lot of great coaches that didn't play,
Mm-hmm.
but when you can kind of put yourself in the player's shoes when you're talking to the team, understanding they're looking at the coach and understanding he sat in that chair and is going through some of the same things, then it makes it a little bit easier for a player to sort of acquiesce and do the things that we ask of them. So can't say enough great things about him. I mean, I'm biased. I've said this. I mean, he's one of the best coaches in the league. We're very fortunate to have him. I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with him on a day-to-day basis, side by side.
You two work really well together. I have two quick ones for you, and then I'll let you I'll let you go, even though I could talk to you all day. JJ Watt, we've heard it. Him and D'Amico. Any legs to this? Is he coming out of retirement? What's going on?
We'll see. I think JJ's got enough going on right now. But
What does that mean? We'll see.
once
We'll
the
see the
once
headline.
the season starts, then I think that's when the competitive juices get going. So D'Amico has an open door policy for JJ, so we'll see how it goes.
You're not, I'm giving you the opportunity to close the door on this nonsense and you're leaving it open.
You want me to no comment it?
No, I want you to be honest. Like that could happen. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead here. I think we're just focused on the spring and just try to get through the rest of the spring here and get to summer vacation, honestly.
Okay, last one. Yeah, and I hope you enjoy it. You so deserve it. Everybody down there does. What a turnaround. It's amazing. Last one for you. I was thinking about this morning. I don't think it gets talked enough that you've won 6 Super Bowls. You have this major role, even though you'll downplay it because you're humble. I'm building these rosters in New England. You're 1 behind Brady. You're 2 short of Belichick as far as scoreboard with rings. He's got 8, right? You have a shot, my friend, to be the most decorated person in NFL history. How much thought do you give to that?
Not much, honestly. I'm fortunate to be affiliated with a very successful organization for a number of years that provided me great opportunity. I have my Super Bowl rings, but honestly, I don't even know where they are because I just kind of put them away. That's not my personality. So, I just enjoy work. I enjoy the process. I enjoy being part of a team. So I think if you have good people with good process, and then the results are going to be the results. So, we just want to try to build something that's sustainable for a long period of time here. What the end result is, ultimately, it's up to the players. So if we just get the right people, the right players in the building, give them the opportunity to go out there and execute. When it's all said and done, football is going to go away. So, hopefully I'll be judged by how good of a husband and a father I was to my wife and my girls. So, honestly, I haven't given it one iota of a thought, Kay, to be honest. So
Wow.
it's just other things I think that are more pressing and more important in my life. But I enjoy football. I enjoy being part of a team and just working with people. I just kind of take it one day at a time and just try to improve and try to continually get better and remain curious and just look for ways to help the organization, get to a goal that I think everybody in the league wants to achieve.
I will keep score for you. You keep working on this. What I bet you would consider, this is when you tell me that you have a Super Bowl caliber roster. We drop the mic.
Hopefully we have a good team and go out there and compete about any against anybody in the league, which we're going to need everybody at some point. So.
And you have vests that are flying off of the shelves. All things are great down with the Texans. Enjoy, hopefully, the rest of OTAs and get some rest and let's go get it this year.
Thanks, Kay. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. You bet.